I don't think it's considered breakups, but like how many ruptures we had where I said enough is enough. I can't do this. If this is going to be my last go at dating, I'm going to manifest this person.
This episode will give you goosebumps. Most people think love happens the first time around, but what if your greatest love story begins after everything falls apart? After divorce and years of waiting, almost giving up on love, Dr. JC met Mieke. Then she said something that stopped him in his tracks. And in that divine moment, everything made sense. The answer sparked a journey filled with impossible coincidences, unwavering faith, and a love story so extraordinary it feels destined. Before this episode ends, you may never look at second chances or your own future the same way again.
I'm joined by Chicken and Dragon. I have no idea, so I'm as excited as everybody else to know about it. I'm eager to listen and learn. Let's start at the beginning. Tell a little bit about each of you individually before you met.
So I was actually living in New York City and I was working as an actor because that's how I got to the US. I came here for acting school, doing auditions and all that stuff. And I was staying with a friend of mine one night at his Airbnb. So he always have guests come and go. And one of the nights there was a guest who was a clinical sexologist. And I was like, oh, I've never heard about that. What is that? And she explained to me what she does for a living. And we got into talking about sex. And she was like, wow, you would be really good at this. And I went, oh, please. Like,
well, wait a second. Are we allowed to talk about sex on this show?
Oh, yes. Are we?
This is all about you guys. It's your story. It's your story.
I'm a sex therapist. So for me, that is such a like normal way of speaking. And then I realize afterwards, like people are clutching their pearls and they're like, what? That's a wild ride. I became interested in that. I thought, okay, well, let me explore it. And so I became a clinical sexologist. And right before I met JC, I was actually working a lot with couples on navigating miscommunication and intimacy concerns. I had such a fulfilling job, but deep down, I felt like a hypocrite because I was dating and I was not meeting this person that I really wanted to be with. And my dating life was a mess. I was a complete avoidant attachment. So I would crave intimacy with someone, and as soon as they came close, I would push them away. And so there was this like push-pull thing in my personal life and my career. I just felt like I wasn't really living authentically because I was sitting with these couples telling them how to be couples. And I'm like, so they came a point where I really, really just wanted to give up on the dating scene. And then this one came along one night when I was bored on a Sunday. I said, you know what, before I delete this app, I'm going to give it one more swipe. And then that happened. I matched with JC, with my dragon.
It's a little bit more complicated than that.
It is.
But simultaneously, Mieke was never married prior, as far as I know. I never, well, one thing that was interesting about when we met is I didn't care about anything that ever happened with her prior. I just knew. I was previously married to a wonderful, human, my friend from growing up. And, I don't have hard feelings. We had a wonderful divorce. I've been thinking about writing a book on how to have a successful divorce. In fact, meaning, there was respect and I took great care of her and I showed my kids the way that, an ex-husband should take care of women in general. We weren't right for each other. We weren't a good match. And we got married young and all of that stuff. So sorry, folks, no traumatic divorce story there.
And also, I'm really good friends with him.
Yeah, we're all friends.
Yeah, we get along. We have our Christmas morning, like opening presents together.
That's right. I was, when you get divorced, you don't really know what to do next. So I kind of went out on the dating scene and didn't have any idea what I wanted. Typically I think what guys do is they look for something that is different than what they had, so I was confused. I dated some younger women and all that stuff, and it was just a disaster. I was out there on the dating scene for about 7 years, and your current husband knew me during that time, so he probably met a couple of these nightmares. But in any case, I always knew 100% that anybody that I was courting or dating was obviously not the right one. So, I'll say that during those 7 years, I was progressively losing hope and faith that I would ever find somebody. I almost feel like I identified as somebody that was not going to have that experience. And to be honest with you, I was a father. I was very involved with my business, and I was okay with that. I kind of you know, was probably manipulating, meaning I was dating people that I knew I wasn't right for and they weren't right for me. I was probably a bit lonely and looking for some companionship. God, we have so much to explain about that, but we want to move through this phase. Needless to say, 7 years into it, and it's important that once we get, I'll tell you something else that was happening during that time once we get to our daughter, because I have two sons from my previous marriage who
My
love
babies.
her.
I love
Um,
them.
but yeah, everybody gets along. It's very strange. It's very odd. If anybody out there that's struggling with divorce and co-parenting, it's not happening here. So 7 years into this, I was on dating apps and all of that because, you know, just like your husband, a lot of people knew me. I was speaking on stage. I didn't want to meet anybody in that way. I didn't want people to have the wrong reasons to meet me. So I liked the app thing, but it wasn't working. So I kind of just gave up on it. And I got to this place where, because dating is exhausting.
Mm.
It's exhausting to just do the work and spend the money, spend the time. So I just kind of got to this place where I was like, I'm going to get rid of the apps. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to put my nose down, be a good dad, and just work on my business. And the way that I found her just restores your hope in the powers above, because it's pretty much impossible how we met. So we'll get into that part next. I pretty much met her, came across her and failed the first time the night before I was never going to date again, or at least I thought. So that was kind of where we were at before.
Yeah. So, like, I would say about a month before we matched on Bumble, I was in something called a little bit of a situationship, where it's this like you think there's potential for a relationship with this person, but there isn't because I'm a couples therapist and I work a lot with attachment styles. So I'd come to recognize that both myself and this guy were very avoidant. So we would like get close and then avoid, get close and avoid. It was just I can't even remember how many well, I don't think it's considered breakups, but like how many ruptures we had where I said enough is enough. I can't do this. And it was after one of those that I decided I was like, I need to go do some soul searching. And I went to a Buddhist temple every Sunday for like 4 hours and meditated. And I started like looking into the law of attraction. Yeah. And I actually said, if this is going to be my last go at dating, I'm going to see if I can manifest this person that I want to be with. Every single day, at the end of every day, I would lie there, I'd put my music on, and I'd lie there and I would just imagine this person that I was going to be with. And in the visualizations, I never saw his face. He didn't have a specific color of hair. It was more a presence that I felt. And I wanted to tune into that. And so I started doing all of these like woo-woo wah-wah stuff. Like I'll move. I started sleeping only on the right side of the bed. And I kept the left open. And I would, take baths in these like weird like I was so desperate to meet this person that I tried everything. It's really cool. Like I would move my bed. They said, "Oh, you've got to move your bed like 1 inch every day to the left, or to make space for the person to come through the door." Like it was all this like, and a part of me like laughed at it. I was like, "Yeah, whatever. This is not gonna work." But then when JC and I, do I jump to when I met
Well, I
you?
don't know. Maybe we can give it back to her. But one of the things that I want to say is that had I known that she was doing all of that, I probably would have run for the hills. Just thinking
It's like some weird lady.
That some weird lady is like moving furniture around and lighting statues on
She's
fire
casting
or something like
spells.
that. I'm happy I didn't know about that part.
he, he only found out about it now.
That's like me and my crystals. It's okay. I get it.
Yes, I love it. It's great. It brought comfort and
Yes.
peace.
Whatever
Yeah.
works.
Well, it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
So yeah, if you want, we can get into like how it actually unfolded, which is
I would love
crazy.
to know your connection story.
Yeah. I want to preface it by also, stating something else that was going on with me, because what's interesting about meeting, let's call it the one, is that I don't think it's something you can try to do. I think that it's more of an attraction. It's an unavoidable attraction. That's the only way I
Energy.
can say it. And when I say the one, I'm not talking about like this white picket fence, live happily ever after. I'm talking about loving someone and you can't not love them, right? And it works both ways. So during the 7 years that I was failing at dating, there was something going on as well. It's kind of a little bit of a foreshadow, but I was having this reoccurring dream. This is before I met her at all, because I was just giving up on anything. But I was having this dream the whole time because we have 2 boys. I had a dream that I had a daughter. And it wasn't just like this once in a while dream. I was having this dream like 2 to 3 times a week. And it was the same girl. I would dream about her when she was a baby, an adolescent, walking her down the aisle, the whole thing. Same girl. And what's interesting about that is, unlike most guys, that kind of prompted me to want to find a woman that had a child, a daughter, because I felt this premonition, and I never did. I never found that person, but I just want to, set that stage, because that was something that was very, very pleasant and made me smile, which is why I never told anyone about it, because you don't tell people you're dreaming about a little girl and it makes you smile. But I just want to say that was happening. So for those of you that don't know how these dating apps work, you set them to have a radius, it's like a force field of how far your pull is, right?
Mhm.
And I think it was like 15 miles or something like that. And she lives 45 minutes from me at the time. So what's really weird is, so I have this app and I'm going to cancel it that day. And for whatever reason, I can't remember why, I was driving past New York City and she lived in Queens,
At the
right?
time, yeah.
Queens, that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. But I managed to somehow turn the app on at the right time where she would be in my radius. And that's the only reason she came into the app.
I have 2 theories.
Okay.
He was on his phone while he was driving,
Well, that I was doing. Yeah, I was on my phone.
which
while-
is something we talk about all the time. And the other one was, the only reason he would be in that area is because he had another date.
I definitely didn't have another date, because all truth be told, I was done with it. I was fatigued from it and I was looking to take a break.
Tired.
So anyway, I saw her picture and I'll tell you that she didn't look like anybody that I've ever seen before. So I realized that, for those of you that think you have a type, your type is going to be the one that you meet and you don't know what your type is. So I saw her picture and she didn't have a bunch of pictures of her with like tigers and, all that stuff, it was just one picture and she was elegant. And then all in her description, it didn't say anything, but it just said her name and it said South African sex coach. And hand to God,
Very smart on my
I mean,
part.
like,
I got a lot of matches.
I was gonna quit on the dating app thing, but when I saw that, I was like, I gotta swipe right on that. So the key thing there is that I can't say that she was my type. I don't think I've ever seen anybody like her, right? And I'm just partly joking about the South African sex coach. The truth is that something felt unraveled inside of me enough that I was like, screw it. And I swiped again, or, that last time. And then I forgot about it. But when I went home, because you have a 24-hour span for them to reply.
So the female reaches, the woman has to reach out
to
first.
protect them. And, the time slot was ending and she never replied. I felt something about it. So I went back to look, no reply. Something that I'd never done before in my life. I found out that for like, I don't know, like $20, you could extend it a day.
Oh,
And something, once again, for anybody that knows me, they know that was uncharacteristic of me. My ego would have said, screw her, I didn't want her anyway. But something told me to pay the $20 and I went to sleep.
Hmm.
And then when I woke up in the morning, there was just a message from her, and I was excited to see it. But there was a message from her that just said, hi. That was it.
we actually have the screenshot. It's
Yeah,
so
we have the
cute.
screenshots of these. So I'll let her take over from here, but that's all she said, hi. But I was so excited about it because it meant that I was in the
There was a
door,
connection.
Yeah, I got a notification the night before that said JC extended on you. And I was like, who's this?
Who's this loser?
This desperate dude. Because when if the time runs out, I believe that you kind of just disappear into the ether.
Well, not
Oh.
only that, you'll never see them
You'll
again.
probably never find, and in a place like New York City, like
Wow.
JC,
Yeah.
going back to Connecticut, like when is he ever going to drive through the city again? Right.
Yeah.
So I would have been gone. But during that month where I was doing the law of attraction woo-woo stuff, singing Kumbaya in my living room, I had this thing where I was listening to wedding songs. I was like, as a little girl, I never dreamed about my wedding, never even thought I was going to get married. But for some reason, I was just like drawn to this idea of wedding songs. I was like, oh, I wonder what my first dance would be to.
Oh.
And then Etta James came on the Spotify playlist, and I was listening to that, and that kind of became one of my favorite songs. And I would give Etta James probably like 5 or 6 listens
Oh
a
my
day.
goodness.
The song
That's
At
so
Last.
cute.
When I saw JC's match on Bumble and I reached out, we immediately said, how about we just get on the phone?
Yeah.
Like, let's not do this text thing.
Now, just imagine speaking to a girl that's a sex therapist with this accent on the phone. She was pretty good at the
And I was
phone.
like, hello.
Yeah.
I knew how to.
But we had a long conversation.
Probably like an hour and a half long. And we set up our date this was a Wednesday night, I think. We set up our date for the Friday. So it all happened at H, the steakhouse in Queens. It all happened really quickly.
Yeah.
Because as a sex and couples therapist and also dating therapist, I see a lot with people. Sometimes they get stuck in the dating app world where it never really progresses because you validate each other on the apps, and sometimes that's enough. So we just said something is pushing us to go out there and meet each other as quickly as possible. I didn't want this to fizzle out.
And I drove a good 45 minutes to an hour to meet her at this restaurant. And just, once again, and I know you know this because you guys were on my show, there was a higher power involved in this. Like, some people struggle to get out of their own way, but sometimes you have no choice. You just know you're supposed to at least check it out. So that was kind of happening. So we went to the restaurant, and I remember I got there early, which, not normal for me either. I was kind of a jerk, but I got there early because I wanted to greet her, and she came walking in. And once again, she's very tall, right? She's actually 6'6", my wife. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, I'm 6'1", and she was tall, and she was dressed very, very elegantly, a little bit of a downtown Abbey vibe, right? She had
Covered up.
right.
Yeah.
She looked very, very proper and classy. She had high heels on, and I was just like, holy cow. So we went and we sat at the table, and
No.
oh, okay, go ahead.
So there was this moment where, because I was I was great at first dates, and then I sucked afterwards. Like all my very flamboyantly gay drag queen friends always used to say to me, "Oh, you are just like so great at first dates, but then everything goes to shit."
Oh no.
Like after that. And I was kind of like a pro at first dates, and very cool, trying not to be anxious. I walk in and I look at he stands up. And the moment I look at him, that same, and I'm not kidding, I'm not saying this to make the podcast go, this is genuine. I looked at JC, and that same feeling that I had when I was doing the visualizations of what this person's presence would feel like, that came over me. And it was just like, feels like home.
I just got
Like,
goosebumps.
that's the weirdest thing. It
I
just
just
like,
got goosebumps.
yeah,
I
it
feel
just
ya.
was it. I just knew that this was, yeah,
Mm.
I knew that he was the one.
So I remember where we sat and everything. Like we've actually returned to that place for an anniversary.
So
But
cute.
this is over 7 years ago, by the way. So
8, yeah,
or
it's
almost 8, yeah. So we went and sat and we're sitting across from one another. And everything was going great. And one of the things I loved about her is that she actually ate. We got this big dinner
good
and I
steak.
liked she had an appetite and things. But all of a sudden I really, really liked this girl. And I wasn't, my caveman brain was not activated. Like I wasn't trying to accomplish anything that night. Like I really liked her. So I asked her, I said from across the table, I said, would it be okay if I came and sat next to you? So rather than sitting across the table, I came and sat next to her and she got a little bit shy and things like that. But I did. And it wasn't, it wasn't overdone. I just wanted to be closer to her. And I will say for the record that if you ever walk into a restaurant and see us there, we always sit next to each other today, ever since that
Always.
day.
And everybody in this area
We
knows.
never sit across from one another. We sit next to each other, which I think everybody should do. So in any case, we had this wonderful dinner, and then all of a sudden,
No, I said, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go use the restroom.
okay, yes,
So I
she
got
went
up
the
to use
restroom.
the restroom, and as I'm washing my hands, about to go back to JC, Ada James starts playing at last. And I'm like,
No.
this is very weird. Like, it's so, isn't that
Oh
so over
my
the radio? Like, I didn't even
gosh.
pick the song to play.
No,
And then
man.
simultaneously,
And as I walked, as I walked out of the bathroom, JC stood up and he goes, would you like to dance?
and this is not, there's no dance floor. It's just a
It's
restaurant.
a restaurant, it's a
Yes,
steakhouse. And I'm like,
Right.
so
yes.
cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
All
Something.
very uncharacteristic of both of us. So needless to say, we had a wonderful night. And I just remember one of the things that was funny that she said to me that night is she says, just so you know, you'll be getting none of this tonight. Right. So we had the same sense of humor. It was a wonderful, wonderful date. And I just remember when I dropped her off, how I was just like, I do not want to mess this up. Like, I went home and any like thing that I had still going, like a girl that I was dating, any open door for anybody, I went home and closed them all, and I was like, it just felt so right. So after that, she eventually came to visit me. We had a couple more dates.
My cat Niles would come with from the
Yeah,
city.
she would come and I never wanted her to leave. I never wanted time away from her. And that was new for me. And I mean, God, it was like 2, 3 weeks that she just never left.
I moved in and I
Um,
called my dad. I said, Dad, I just want to let you know I met this guy and I'm moving to Connecticut. And he was like, you're moving to what? And I'm like, I'm moving to Connecticut. He's like, so wait. My dad was livid and he ended up loving JC so much. But yeah, it was kind of the way it happened was JC was going to go to France to see his dad. And he said, why don't you just stay at my place? Like, you're here with the cat.
It was kind of my
stay.
way of like trapping her there so that when I got back from France, she'd still be there.
Yeah. But then what happened was I actually developed a hernia and it was an emergency surgery. So the morning that he left, no, you left the night before, but the morning of, I was in excruciating pain. So I ended up getting myself in a cab because New Yorkers, we don't drive. I didn't have a car there. So I just took an Uber to Greenwich Hospital and had emergency surgery.
These are all crazy, crazy things that have happened that for us now make complete sense. I want to go back to the dreams that I was having of the daughter. So we were moving very fast, in the sense that we never wanted to be apart from one another. And our parents thought we were crazy and all that stuff. But there was one night where Mieke said to me, she said, listen, now keep in mind, Mika's never been married and she doesn't have a daughter and anything, but I didn't care. I didn't, matter of fact, I didn't care about anything, of her past. I knew that I wanted to be with her. So she said to me one night, she says, listen, we're moving very fast and there's something that I need to let you know about me. And I said something funny after that, and I meant it. I was like, what, you've got a wooden leg? You used to be a man? I don't care. I'm in anyway. Right. And it's true. I had decided that this is the one. So she says, she laughed, but she says, well, actually, sad to say that almost 2 years ago, she told me that her sister had passed away tragically. And I was like, oh, that's so, and her and her sister were like very, very close. I was like, oh my God, that's so sad. And I thought that's what she wanted to tell me. But meanwhile, she goes, well, that's not it. What I need you to know. And I remember when she was telling me this, that something, once again, I'm very, very intuitive and I'm very much in touch with the universe and things like that. So I always sense things. I have that sixth sense. So something's unraveling in me. And she says, well, what I need you to know is my sister passed away, but left behind her daughter.
He was at the time 8 years old.
Stayed at this time.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, she doesn't know about my dreams and stuff like that. And I remember when she said, so you need to know that I come with a daughter because I'm be adopting my niece. And I remember I started to sweat a little bit, not in a nervous way, but like in an overwhelmed way. My nervous system was like, is this really happening right now? And she doesn't know, and I'm not going to tell her that I've been dreaming about a daughter. Everything's going great. So meanwhile, she's probably worried that I'm going to run for the hills now. And it was like almost like a test. So I said, oh my God, that's so beautiful. I said, can I see a picture of her? And this is the part where most people will struggle to believe this, but hand to God, it's the girl that I'm dreaming of. I could have drawn a picture of her. I mean,
They actually look alike.
She actually looks more like
She looks
me and
more
my
like his
kids than her
family.
family.
Yeah.
So her name is Lexi. And when I saw her picture, my heart stopped because I was like, but it was in a good way. I was like, oh my God, like it's all happening. I've got the girl, the daughter, and all of that stuff. It just felt so right. I was very excited about this, but I didn't want to rush things. I didn't want to like call the little girl and be like, I'm your new dad. But I kind of wanted. But when I went to France and she had to have that surgery, her mother and Lexi decided to get on a plane and come and support her while I'm in France. So while I'm in France, in my beautiful high-rise apartment at the time, she's living there, finding all sorts of notes and things from ex-girlfriends and stuff. That's another funny thing. And now Lexi and her mother come to America and I'm still in France. So now I'm going to come home from France and not only be with my dream girl, but now I'm going to meet this little girl.
And the granny and all the friends from New York City.
All the gay friends, every one of her friends
They're
is
all
gay. These are men that show up at our house in high heels and everything. But in any case, when I met Lexi, and she was just this teeny little girl, she just jumped right in my arms and we knew each other.
And she was not that kind of kid.
No.
She was not.
And we are inseparable, like inseparable. She knew about me. I knew about her, everything. So what I'll say about relationships is, because I remember your story, it's one thing when you have things like chemistry and you feel like things are right, but it's another when the universe comes down and puts a stamp of approval or an exclamation point and says, this is it. So, after that day, I know that everybody thinks that when you meet the right one, everything is just, Julie Andrews running through a room with a cartoon on her freaking hand. And let me just tell you that this woman and I have been through a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we always say that there's no way anyone else would have gone through what we've been through together, from financial collapse to parents dying,
adoption,
the adoption process during COVID. Most people would kill themselves. and just everything that could go wrong went wrong for the two of us, and we never faltered. In fact, it just continued to strengthen our relationship. So, you know,
Yeah. I think that I'm at a point in this relationship where, like I was saying to JC yesterday, I just walked into the living room and I said, I'm so happy with my life. I'm so happy. I hope.
and things could be better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I said, I hope that I live for many, 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 many years. And it was the first time that I really acknowledged it. And we have been through a lot.
Yeah.
And despite that, I still always felt safe because I knew I had a partner.
In a sea of craziness, we have everything that we've ever wanted.
Yeah.
So no matter how good or bad life could ever get, we're good. We're good like this. And that's one of the messages that we want to share is, this woman right here is amazing, but she's also crazy as a loon, right? And I probably am too.
Oh, yeah.
But she could do no wrong. One thing I can tell you with people that are in disbelief is that I will be with this one until the day I die, if she'll have me,
Of course.
and that's how it all unfolded.
That's our story.
Yeah, that's our story.
What makes it work that you want to keep going and not just throw in the towel when things get hard?
I think that in a relationship, you're foolish to get attached to the physical and even the chemical, right? I think that human beings need to look at their partner and recognize how they're part of your destiny and your future. So when I look at Mieke or Chicken, what I see is that I actually feel like I was put on this planet to take care of her and make her feel safe. It's like why I'm here. I do a lot of interesting things. I write, I do my podcasting, the coaching and all that stuff. And I'm a parent and all of that. But when I really look at who I am and what my purpose is here, I feel like it is to make my wife feel loved and safe. And that's why it's no matter what we go through, that's still my job. That's just, I think it's a certainty.
I'm glad that you went first because I will say, as a couples therapist, something that very often happens is at the end of the day, when I'm done with all of my couple sessions, I'm really able to put my life into perspective. And I go, wow, there are couples out there who are really, really struggling to connect and to trust each other. And there's been infidelity and there's just so much heartache. And I look at JC and I know at the end of the day that I have a partner, and this is no jokes, I have a partner who really, really values me and who I can really trust. I mean, JC could go out to Vegas tomorrow by himself.
Well, that's another thing is I don't go anywhere without her, and that's, I don't want to go away without her,
We love being
and for those
together.
of you that think that we're in like some sort of puppy love, we've been through more than most people have been through, almost 8 years now. And you're hearing this message after we've been through the honeymoon phase and all of that stuff. So, for those, the only people that ever doubt that something like this can happen are people that don't have it.
Yeah, it is rare. It definitely is. I mean, but once again, like when I work with couples, I always try to keep in mind that hopefully this would be the goal for them. I don't tell them about my relationship, of course, as a therapist, but I always secretly hope that they would find what we have,
Yeah.
which is just this deep trust.
Do you want to share what this jacket is about?
Oh, this is the jacket that
You didn't ask me about my Prince Charming jacket.
I noticed
Brian
it. I was
knows
going to
what this
ask you, and I
jacket
want to
is.
know about Dragon and Chicken too.
He proposed in this jacket in front of everyone,
So-
10,000 people.
When I proposed to her, we were at an Optavia convention, and that's how I know your lovely husband. That's been such an honor for me to, first of all, your book is amazing and your story is amazing. And you guys had this wild ride. For those listening, like Brian Drollinger is a very, very good friend of mine, somebody that I know I'll be friends with for life. We were at a national convention. There was 11,000 people there. And I had this idea of proposing to her in front of all of them. So the way that worked was I always dressed kind of funny. So she wasn't surprised by that. But I had got tight yellow pants on and this Prince Charming jacket and these funny glasses. And we're walking out, and very, very commonly people would, you know, pull us over to interview us because they were like the leaders of the company and stuff like that. You know, just like you're getting that now too when you come to those events. So the guy that owns the company and the president of the company are standing there in tuxedos, and they said, "Hey, JC, come over here," right? And she's watching me. She usually watches, and they're interviewing me, and she can't really hear what I'm saying. All of a sudden she sees, we have this on video, she sees me call her over, and she's standing there and she's like, you know, wondering what the heck's going on, but it's just an interview on the side, right? And then all of a sudden I take a knee, and Dr. Anderson has the ring. He was holding the ring. So I take a knee.
He was in on. He
Oh
was
yeah,
in on
everybody
it.
was in on it. Well, wait,
He
it
was-
gets crazier.
That's-
So I take a knee, and she's like, "Oh my God," you know, she's freaking out, and we put the ring on her finger, and everybody in that little area is congratulating us. But then we start walking to go to the convention. And it wasn't until we walked in and 11,000 people screamed that she realized that it was being broadcast on the Jumbotron.
Imagine I said no.
So
Reputation ruined.
yeah, that was the first time I realized how stupid that could have been. But that's
No,
all right.
that's
All right.
You knew. You knew.
I wanted to make it special.
It was great. It was
Yeah.
lovely. Perfect.
So that's our story. I know it's a boring one, but
No, it's not. And I want to ask too, what do you guys appreciate most about each other?
I don't want to overcomplicate this. She feels like home. I think there's a loneliness
Mhm.
epidemic in the world, and I never look at her and say, "Oh, I'm glad that I have her," or something like that. Like, I can't imagine my life without her. It would be like losing an appendage. So what I love about her is how, this is kind of lame for a guy to say, but how safe I feel around her.
It's
And
not
just,
lame.
well, it's not lame to say in front of two women, but the guys will think it's lame.
Whatever.
But I'm okay with that.
I think one of the many, many, many things that I appreciate about JC is what a good dad he is. I don't
Mhm.
think I could have asked for a better father for Lexi. I mean, it is just incredible. And I think if you look back on all of the stuff that we went through, very, very, very few people would step up to the plate in the way that he did.
Yeah. And only people that know what adoption is in general, but international adoption in
South Africa.
South Africa is so much
I can
corruption.
imagine.
It's
The universe offered us 500 opportunities to bail out of that. And I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but we gave everything in our life up for that little girl.
We
'Cause
actually ended up moving back to South Africa.
we got rid of our home, all of our
Really?
belongings. All we had was a suitcase each, and we moved to South Africa.
Are you kidding me?
Well, because Lexi was stuck. She was
Wow.
stuck there,
Yeah.
and she was getting depressed. This little girl had
Oh.
a rough start in life, and she was so excited to come to
Yeah.
America, but then COVID stopped that, and nobody was allowed in the country.
Mm.
So Mika and I, you know, at the risk of business going away and all our luxuries that we had, we just moved to
everything.
South Africa just to be with this little girl. And
That's when my dad got sick, and JC ended up helping me take care of my dad.
yeah,
in
her
his
dad
final
got
days.
sick and passed away, and
Yeah.
I mean, like so many crazy things, but it was the greatest decision that we ever made because like this little girl,
She's so cool.
yeah,
She's getting her driver's license.
she's getting her driver's license. She competes internationally in jujitsu.
She's so cool.
Oh, we love her.
I see
And
that.
she looks just like
She's
Casey.
beautiful. I see.
It's so bizarre.
I did not know she was not your biological daughter.
Yeah, a lot of
JC.
people don't.
Yeah, she's
And she
my
looks like
niece.
my son Jackson a lot. too.
Yes, yes. They definitely look like siblings.
How did the blending go with the children?
I like to boast a little bit. I did a good job bringing
They are
them up. I mean,
wonderful.
they're
Oh,
very respectful. They never got in any trouble or anything like that. So when they met Lexi, I didn't know how they would receive the idea of having a sister, but they loved the idea. And it's the greatest thing ever. They love her so much. They smother her. But the only problem is that she probably will never be able to date a boy, like ever.
because they are such
Yeah.
great examples. I don't think that anybody else could ever match.
Nobody's good enough for her. So whenever she's asked us if she can like go out on a date, we say, run it by your brothers.
And they're like, no,
Absolutely not.
who is this guy? And they do a background check.
How special is
Yeah.
that? So one piece of advice, if you could give advice to somebody who feels like their chance at love has passed them by, somebody listening that's like, oh, that's never going to happen to me.
I think that you should start with the connection that you have with yourself. Sometimes we expect other people to fill that need within us, and that expectation very often sets us up for failure.
Mm.
So I would say focus on yourself. Start doing the work, because when you get to a healthy place, that is really when you start attracting the person that needs to come into your life. You make space. And, obviously our story is so much more intricate. So I could
Mhm.
have spent 6 hours just talking about that month before I met JC, so you can know how much work I put into myself and how I got
Yeah.
to a place with like a Buddhist temple,
We-
and where I felt I loved myself
We
finally.
often talk about the fact that had we met at a different time, we wouldn't have been ready for it.
I don't think I would have been ready for something
Right.
this serious and committed, because I was so avoidant. So I would say start with yourself. And then once you really feel like you know yourself and you love yourself fully and you can be okay by yourself, that's when you give it one more try.
And then I would just add to that. I probably would have said the same thing. I fully agree. The first thing you have to do to attract someone is become attractive, not to everybody else, but to yourself.
To
So I
yourself.
love that. But the only advice I would give, I'm 54 years old. By the way, she's only 25. But 54 and 20, that's a joke, by the way, for those of you listening to the podcast. So, although she looks like
Oh,
she's
that
25.
sounds nice, but I don't want to go back to 25. Those were some wild years.
I would just say to trust the process. I think the biggest struggle that people have is this illusion that we control outcomes.
Mm,
I could say detach from the outcome, but it's okay to have a goal.
yeah.
And that's where manifestation comes into place. But in order for you to find, this is just my belief at this time, and God, look at your story, right? A lot of things have to fall into place to be able to meet the right one that you don't control. It's beyond you.
Mm.
So when I say trust the process, I would just say the person that you're supposed to be with, I can't guarantee that you'll meet them. I hope you do, but they're out there.
Yeah, they are out there. Maybe
They're
they
out
are
there.
more than one, that you can have different.
More than one? Is there something you want to tell us?
No. I mean, don't limit yourself to this idea that you only have one person and you have to go and find
Right.
this one person, because I think that puts way too much pressure. I think that we are able to work with many different people. I found my person, so I don't want many different people. I think he's going,
Good
are you
recovery.
opening the
Good
relationship?
recovery.
No.
But what I'm saying is that you have to allow it to happen
Yeah.
rather than try to make it happen.
Yeah, I think so.
Trust the universe. So this leads perfectly, JC, into your recently released
Well,
book.
that's what's
Makes
so great about the
sense.
book. There's a whole chapter that recounts this whole story in even more detail. The book is called Make Sense. And you know what I'll tell you just in relation to our conversation today, and that's, for those of you that don't know, I have a podcast called Make Sense with Dr. JC.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
crazy.
I follow you. I listen
Well,
to you.
a lot of things fall
Yes.
into place when things fall into place. My podcast number 4 in the world right now. I worked hard at it. When you're sitting in a congruent, authentic space in life, other things happen. The book is a recount of all of these just pivotal things that have happened in my life that brought me into this space where I became increasingly more conscious and aware of things, and things started to make more and more sense. And then I teach a system of how, people can reframe anything in their life. They can change the way they look at things so that the things that they look at change. And I think that the reason why I'm passionate about this book, and I wouldn't have been able to complete the book had I not had this experience with her. That's why it took 8 years, by the way, to write the books, because I wasn't ready to finish it. I think that most people, and this message might be for the people that feel like they're stuck or they're not going to find love. I think it's important for people to recognize that we live in a world that, unbeknownst to most people, is doing the thinking for us.
Mhm.
We're
We have to
being
take control.
conditioned and persuaded to think and feel a certain way that we did not ask for. And this book and this system that I teach is about coming back home to yourself
Mm.
and therein be probably allowing yourself to become the person that will attract the other person in life. I don't think that you can fake your way to love. I tried it. It doesn't
Yeah.
work, and once again, listen to your story. I mean, like, what makes your story so great? I was along the ride for the other side of that story, so that's why it's so fun for me to hear. And Brian as well. Brian knew me before I knew Chicken. You always look at it and you go, God, what are the odds that that could happen? But because of our experience, let's say very high. Those odds very, very high if you're being yourself and you're living authentically and focusing on the right thing, keeping the main thing the main
Yeah.
thing.
Stop doom scrolling and reading Reddit forums on how bad relationships can get and start looking at the brighter side of it.
Right.
Rewire your brain so that you can attract. I'm a firm believer in that. I see it work with couples and my individual clients.
And
all
don't
the time.
expect it to be easy.
It's not. And it's I think anything that's worth it isn't easy.
It gets easier. It gets easier, but never easy.
Yeah. But life would be boring if it was.
When we were in our first phase, we were communicating with each other with apps that could speak.
Yeah, but
I was a dragon, she was a chicken, and
I had an old lady voice like, "Hello, darling."
now people don't even know our names. They call us chicken and dragon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cute. Love you.
Well, chicken and dragon, thank you. This conversation is such a powerful reminder that love isn't always about finding the right person at the right time. Sometimes it's about becoming the right person and trusting that life will reconnect
Absolutely.
when you're ready.
Thank you for having
So
us.
thank
This
you
was
so
fun.
much for joining us.